Okay. All right, cool. So let's discuss Donkey Kong Jr. So obviously Donkey Kong Jr. as an arcade game, a lot of people played it, but not as many people have played it as Donkey Kong 1. And Jr., it has some platforming things you need to get used to. To be fair, a lot of this platforming stuff is like what I'm specifically referring to is like the jump damage. The jump damage in this game is kind of absurd, to be quite frank. Now, Mario, the first Donkey Kong game has the same thing, but excuse me, but you don't have to deal with it as much because you have to get to like 75 meters first. If you've gotten used to that, then the jumping, the physics of Junior are more or less the same, though he is a bigger character, so you have to take that into account. So. The obviously, yeah. So this game has way more focus on like going through platforming than the first Donkey Kong game did, for sure. And you have to get used to that because it's old and it's clunky. Now that being said, once you figure out stuff, this game gets really fun. Honestly, Donkey Kong 1 is, I think, more replayable, but this one has better highs than Donkey Kong 1 in my opinion, especially once you start getting to those later levels. And I would say it's more accessible to finish for someone because again,
it's way easier.
Like you finished the game twice on stream, and I finished it once. Where in Donkey Kong, I was able to finish it once, but you weren't able to. And I think it's an easier game overall if you can like figure out like the mechanics of it. I enjoyed it. What about you? How are you feeling about Donkey Kong Jr.?
Yeah, like you said, it's way more accessible than the first Donkey Kong, and I think it's also a lot of fun because it's not so challenging. It's like the perfect amount where you can, it took us a few tries, but I eventually managed to beat it. So I think it's way easier to recommend to people who are looking to play a classic game and not feel like intimidated by losing, a lot like the first one. And like you said too, it also just has so much verticality to it where you're not just going up, you're going side to side, and you're going down, you're going up again, and you're dropping items on enemies, you're collecting items and stuff. In the first Donkey Kong, you're going to the top and you're kind of just dodging things and you're not really doing much else. I'm so surprised that this came out like a year afterwards because there's so much improvement. They added so many things to this game,
and it's pretty different too. Like again, the actual jumping physics are similar, but the game otherwise is very different than the first one. Very different.
Just the whole two-hand mechanic thing where you can like climb up one vine, or you could extend another hand out and climb up two of them faster than you would one, which is
and that's cool to me. And that's cool because it's risk versus reward. Because with two vines, you're going faster, but you're more susceptible to the enemies that are hanging out on the vines.
Yeah.
So you can't always just do it just to get a little extra speed because you could get punished for it. So I love that about it, that it has that mechanic as well. And yeah, this to me, like Donkey Kong, if Donkey Kong was the beginning of Nintendo's platforming, Donkey Kong Jr. to me feels like the beginning of Nintendo level design, in my opinion. Because I really feel like, and there was different objectives. Kind of. You were at the end of the day, you were trying to get to the top, but like there was different ways you had to do it. Which I guess the original Donkey Kong kind of had that too. But Junior feels more elaborate in that respect about how you had to reach your goal.
Yeah, and each level there's only 4 levels, but each one significantly ramps up from the other one, like you said. So like the first one's pretty basic, but the second one, like you're jumping at a new spring platform that's never been introduced before.
Yeah.
So you don't really know how far you're gonna jump, and you have to like go onto that platform. You have these new there's so many new mechanics they're introducing so quickly to you.
Yeah.
And you kind of just have to like
just figure it out.
Go along with it and just kind of figure out how everything feels and works. And it feels more like a complete. You can still beat it in 5 minutes, but it still feels like a complete experience from like start to finish. Or like, hey, I just finished this game. It feels like, a start, middle, and end. Yeah.
And I love how from the lore side, it's such a curiosity because again we joked about it all stream, but Mario's the villain in this game because this is the second game that he's only ever appeared. So again, character wasn't defined yet. So they just made him a villain. That's just when you think about modern Mario, about how he is, and like just considering that there exists a game where Mario is just literally twirling his mustache and whipping monsters to attack a little kid gorilla. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like if you're like, it's just worth it to look at for a historian point of view, just to think that Nintendo at one point had the idea to do something like that with the character that is now their mascot. But all that to say, like when I was talking about the original Donkey Kong, like about half an hour ago, I was saying that like it's perfectly fine to play online with a friend for a little bit for the NES, and then maybe get the arcade version on Switch if you were like really enjoyed it. But I have a mostly pretty good memory of Donkey Kong Jr. Arcade. This really doesn't feel that different from it. Like the differences are not as pronounced in this version as the arcade one. I guess again, if you really like this game, you want the authentic experience, you can get the arcade version. But this version feels fine. I don't think it's a severe downgrade from the arcade version that I could even barely notice. All 4 levels were there. The arcade version of Donkey Kong had 4 levels, but was only 3 in the NES version. That's really the only thing I would like give people a recommendation above, even though that version is not free. But this is almost identical. So yeah, this game is fine. This game is perfectly fine, especially with a friend. You can learn from each other. Like first one, you can learn from each other. Go forward. Yeah, for a few minutes or just to even complete the game once, which is not as difficult to do once you figure out everything. Worth it. Worth it. I think it still holds up. I think
for sure.
By the way, great. I don't know if you know, but so far in our entirety of the Does It Hold Up series, the only game that we that we put extended time into and decided doesn't hold up is Wrecking Crew. This game right here. Like, you know, we gave this game an hour. We get that same episode. We also played NES Open Tournament Golf, and after playing an hour of Wrecking Crew, we decided no, this one doesn't really hold up.
You played an hour of Wrecking Crew?
We played an hour of Wrecking Crew and got through a whole bunch of levels, and we weren't having a good time after a while. Like I thought the game would hold up better than it did because I thought I enjoyed the puzzle mechanics of it. Like it's a puzzle platformer, so that this might be fun. But an hour in, I was like, no, this needs too much polish. Like a modern remake of Wrecking Crew could be good, but the game as it is, no.
I don't think I've ever. I don't know if I ever played it or not. I'm looking at pictures now, and it looks very. I probably touched it somewhere in my life, but
yeah.
Is that supposed to be Mario too?
That is Mario. Yeah, it's Mario, okay. And player 2 is Luigi. But the thing about this game is like, yeah, that's Mario on the cover, but Luigi in that game is not even green. He's a darker red than Mario. Like Luigi was not defined. It was back in the Luigi was just not defined. Like they didn't even go for the green Mario joke. They just made him a darker red Mario.
He's not even gonna have his own color.